I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
Well, it just seems like I debunk one Kevin Sabet idiocy and then I turn around and there's another Kevin Sabet idiocy. My work is never done with this man, so here we go once more into the breach. On his latest post at Huffington Post, Kevin Sabet is trying to muddy the waters with respect to the scheduling of marijuana, trying to confuse people about the call by Americans for Safe Access, by Dr. Sanjay Gupta, by many people to reschedule marijuana from Schedule 1 down to Schedule 2, where it would have at least a recognized medical value in the United States. And this has gained a lot of traction. A lot of people can't understand why it would be classified in the same level as heroin and LSD and PCP and mushrooms and all these vile drugs as far as the harm comparison goes. But his post leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to logic and reasoning. So I just thought I would give you a chance to hear how to tear this stuff apart bit by bit, because it's just so easy. He begins by saying the reason marijuana hasn't been rescheduled is because no product of whole raw marijuana has a currently accepted medical use in the U.S. So why doesn't whole marijuana have a currently accepted medical use? Well, there have not been scientific studies of adequate size and duration showing that a product comprised of raw whole marijuana, smoked, vaporized, or otherwise ingested, has medicinal value. So ignore what your own lying eyes are telling you when you see the story of Charlotte Figi, the young girl having 300 seizures a week that gets cut down to 1 thanks to cannabis. Ignore what your own lying eyes tell you when you see the 19-year-old man with the constant diaphragmatic spasms who's able to reduce those spasms and talk and live a normal life. Forget about that. Forget about what you see in 20 different medical marijuana states. Forget about Kathy Jordan, who was supposed to die in 1990, who's still alive with Lou Gehrig's disease, because the FDA hasn't gotten enough studies and there's really no proof. Ignore what your own lying eyes are telling you. That's what Kevin Sabet wants you to do. He goes on trying to explain this, saying the FDA has never approved crude plant materials as a prescription medicine, partly because there is no way to administer it in defined doses without any toxic byproducts. Isn't this interesting how he transitions from talking specifically about cannabis to approving crude plant materials in general so that he can shoehorn in this part about toxic byproducts? Because cannabis, as we all know, has no toxic byproducts. Nice try trying to slip that one in, guilt by association there. And the point of the FDA and the point of having these laws that control the prescription drug market and require thorough and rigorous testing and making sure there's defined doses and specific constituents in a pill, the reason that's all necessary is because when we were trying to regulate drugs in the beginning of the 20th century, a lot of them were, say it with me, kids, toxic and addictive. And some of them were dangerous as far as their side effects. And we needed to make sure these things were tested and that doctors were controlling them, because if they were misused, if they were overused, they could kill someone or cause terrible side effects. Cannabis doesn't have that property. The laws that are built around running cannabis through the FDA don't apply. FDA is there for things that could possibly be harmful to us. So Sabet goes on, and this is a really insane little juggling act he has to do, this little balancing act where he has to say that plant is bad, but stuff in plant is good. Let me just quote from his piece here. He says, which components within marijuana have accepted medicinal value? Marinol, entirely containing lab-made THC, not something from a nasty plant. The active ingredient in marijuana, that is what gets you high, is in Schedule 3 and widely available. Really? So the THC that's in a marijuana bud that comes out 20%, that's a deadly dangerous drug, but the THC that's made in a lab is Schedule 3. In fact, it was originally Schedule 2, and it was found to be so safe that it was rescheduled downwards to Schedule 3. It's one of the few times that's ever happened with any drug to get scheduled lower. But it's in a pill and made in a lab, so of course it must be safe. He also goes on to say that THC has also been tested but not yet approved as an analgesic, meaning it helps lessen severe pain, like the pain associated with cancer. It's been tested but not approved. It's not been approved for that. It's not specific for that. It's really more specific for nausea. Did you know that 1 out of 5 prescriptions written in the United States are written for off-label uses? That means a doctor can get a bottle of pills that say are good for blood pressure and prescribe them to a guy to help him with hair loss. Even though they might not have actually been approved for hair loss, it's up to a doctor's discretion to be able to prescribe that drug for what he feels it will be beneficial for, even though the FDA didn't test it for that purpose. But for cannabis, no, we can't have that happen. Also, Kevin goes on to talk about CBD because, of course, Charlotte Figi in the Sanjay Gupta show was using a CBD oil off of a strain of plants called Charlotte's Web, which is a 27% CBD and less than 1% THC. He says, quote, recently scientists have discovered CBD has powerful anti-seizure and other therapeutic properties. CBD does not get you high and barely exists in the modern marijuana found in the street today. It's always about this high with Kevin Sabet. Oh my God, somebody out there might be feeling good. It's the high. They just feel like they have to demonize this high. And folks, I know a lot of pot smokers. And there's nothing fearful or harmful about their high, especially compared to the high one gets from alcohol or any of these toxic addictive pharmaceuticals that Kevin Sabet would prefer you use instead. You don't think morphine gets you high? Now, he goes on to say, talk about CBD and THC in Sativex. So apparently the THC is okay when it's lab made in a pill, and the CBD is at least tolerable when it's extracted from the plant, and the THC plus the CBD together are okay as long as it's in a spray. But THC plus CBD together in the plant in its natural form is a deadly, dangerous, addictive drug that cannot be given even to a girl with 300 seizures a week. Is that what I'm understanding here, Kevin Sabet? It's a ridiculous point, and this idea that somehow the synthesized constituents of marijuana are medicine, but the plant itself is not, is somewhat like saying vitamin C tablets are good for your nutrition, and orange juice from concentrate will quench your thirst. But if you ate a raw orange, that wouldn't be good for your health and you'd still be thirsty. When in fact, eating the raw orange is better for you because of all the other parts of the orange, the pulp, the fiber, all the other constituents of that orange will help you to absorb that vitamin C better than if it had been in a vitamin C pill. Kevin Sabet represents a pharmaceutical industry and a rehabilitationist industry that is dedicated to maintaining this idea that nature can't help us, that nature can't be medical. It's as insane as the Catholics defending against the Protestants in the early 1600s, saying you must go through a priest to receive communion with God. And the Protestants said, no, we can do it directly ourselves. That's how severe a change in paradigm we are talking about here. We're talking about changing the entire medical paradigm from doctors and labs and specifically dosed medications back to what it was prior to 1940, when doctors back in the day worked through many different potions and preparations and herbs and plants that were provided by nature to help heal us. But you can't patent nature, can you? can't make a CEO a fat quarterly bonus on nature, can you? So he continues on here, going on to say that rather than promote, this is Kevin Sabet again, rather than promote a non-accountable system of dispensaries run by non-medical staff with ties to the underground economy and who sell marijuana to anyone with a pulse, are you talking about those brothers on the Sanjay Gupta special who, at great personal risk, are growing flowers to help treat the little girl with the 300 seizures a week? Are those the non-medical staff with ties to the underground economy who sell marijuana to anyone with a pulse? Because those are the people you're lumping him in with. All the good people who do their best to help patients in need. And if you got a problem with the underground economy and selling marijuana to anyone with a pulse, bring that economy above the ground. And recognize that anyone above the age of 21 with a pulse has a right to be able to use cannabis if they so choose. And this other statement he's gotten this, he says, the issue of scheduling is distracting and essentially meaningless since the differences between Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 are mainly technical. They're not meaningless to the researchers that are trying to get access to whole plant cannabis, and all they have access to is the University of Mississippi's freeze-dried swag to work with, if even they can get that. And the only way they can get that is by promising to research how bad it will be for people. That's the only way they can get the grant through the NIDA. It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy to say there's no scientific research that backs up how good marijuana is for you if you don't allow any research that finds out how good marijuana is for you to proceed. And his final thing here, he says, we should develop pharmacy obtainable medications that are safe and effective with reliable dosage and known composition. In the meantime, we can enroll the most seriously ill into research programs as long as they understand potential risks so they can get these promising products today, including children with uncontrollable seizures. Oh, really? So when's that research program starting, Kevin? When does that start? Does that start today? How many more days, weeks, months, or years would Charlotte Figi have to be waiting for your promised research program to keep her from dying in her parents' arms? How many more days does she have to wait? Because right now, she is using medical marijuana. Right now, the state of Colorado's constitutional amendment has saved her life, and you opposed that law. Oh, I tell you, folks, nothing pisses me off more than a rehabitionist trying to protect the profits of the for-profit pharmaceutical, medical, healthcare, industrial insurance complex. That's all the time we got for today. Thanks for joining us here live from Miami, Florida. We'll be back with you tomorrow with the author of Sick Justice. We'll ask him what he thinks about the latest Holder promise with respect to the drug war. And on Thursday, 1 hour with Bobby Platshorn. Thanks for joining us, folks. I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it.